how do you design inclusive events? No, really. I'm asking you. This is a question that I had when I was designing the Connector Summit, gathering 400 people in a space, realized, uh, oh boy, there's 399 other people who have perspectives that are different than my own and lived experiences that are different than my own. How can I ensure this event serves them and not just me? And so I got lucky to enough to connect and meet Shaheen, who I'll invite onto stage here, who has this beautiful gift. And I'll let you speak for yourself, Shaheen. But you have this beautiful gift and pair of glasses that you've been given, whether it's through your life or your passion or your focus, where you've put on this pair of glasses that allows you to see what's missing, or perhaps who's missing from this picture. And so I got lucky enough to connect with Shaheen and said, hey, would you pair up with me and help me design this, what's become a fairly big, high profile event called the Connectors Summit? And so my first question to you is, just in working together so far, what struck you or what did you notice about inclusivity at the Connector Summit?
Thanks, Chad. Before I get to your question, can I just say the pair of glasses that I have also been informed by thousands of conversations. Like, I find human beings really fascinating, and I have conversations with anybody I can meet. And so when you have a conversation, you get to hear, it's like a little peephole into their life, and you go like, oh, I never thought about that because that's not my lived experience. And so I think that's where I've collected a lot of, looking through glasses is just by meeting lots of different humans.
You did this actually, even so. You kind of prepared this inclusivity assessment, and you were like, "I can't make it a checklist. It's more of a mindset." But you sent it over, and I was like, uh, I said something like, "My ADHD leaning brain like wants the information to be," and you just so curiously and so gently were like, "Well, what does your brain want the information to look like or be like?" And so I can see that you've asked thousands of people things like that as well. Super fun. Yeah.
Cool. All right, so let's get back to your original question. What has struck me is I think you and your team already do a lot of really good work. And as accomplished facilitators, that's what I've noticed is people are generally you do want to serve the people in the room. A good
Mm.
facilitator does that automatically. You might not put the banner of inclusivity on it, or you might not know the science behind it or why you're doing it, but essentially you are doing it quite well. And the other thing that I loved about working with you in the
I'll
last
send you your check later, Shaheen.
um, The other thing that I also loved is how open you are. So I
Mm.
know, especially the first conversation we had, and we were just like riffing off each other, and you picked up a piece of paper at the end and was like, I have all of these notes. This is great. And I love that. So
Mm.
that's a really good testament for people like me who come in with a slightly different view to the normative way of facilitation to be like, oh,
Mm.
okay, this is also something that people like and appreciate. And so it's great to get that positive feedback for me too. So thank you.
Yeah, well, it's been and you shared something. I don't know if it's our first, second, or third conversation. You said something along the lines of, right now I'm rolling because I basically was asking you like, here's the plan of the summit. This is what we're doing. This is what and I'll share with y'all watching a like preview of we've designed this like space that's not Zoom, that allows you to kind of free roam. So like, this is me right here. And if I double click over into the Genius Hub, I move over to here. Like, it's a very different experience
Mm.
than Zoom. And so wanted to be really mindful of, at the very first, this can be very cognitively overloading. After you cross over a learning curve of about 5 or 10 minutes, you're like, oh, this actually feels a little bit more like walking into a space. And I now have more choice and autonomy and whatnot. But I was also like, how can we make this as inclusive as possible? And you had a lot of thoughts, and they were amazing thoughts. And so one of them, which maybe I'll just visually share here. Actually, maybe I'll visually share it, but can you share and explain what we talked about with this space and the idea of like creating a quiet zone?
Art zone. It is something that's always struck me is when you are in a conference, even a real life conference, it's quite overwhelming from a sensory point of view. You're trying to understand there's the cognitive overload, but there's also humans. You almost have to be conscious of how you come off as you're trying to present yourself as a person. There's a lot of things happening, and
Hmm.
by the end of the day, you're just tired. And so, what I love in a well-designed space would be if there's a quiet space where I could just sit for 10 minutes, take deep breaths, not have to talk to anybody, not put up a facade, if you will. And then add to that the digital aspect of it, add to that the fact that this runs for 3 days, that could be a lot of overwhelm for some brains and some bodies. And so, which is where the idea of the quiet zone came from, is we know that we want people to connect, we want people to be engaged for 3 full days on this virtual forum. Is there a place where they can just sit outside for 10 minutes and not have
Mm.
their cameras on? Again, we know self-view and all of those research that it is fatiguing. So is there a way to step away from it for a bit? Yeah, and
Yeah,
I
oh,
idea.
go ahead.
Just saying, I like that idea of having a quiet zone.
Yeah, I think it's the idea. I just learned something in what you said, which is part of the quiet zone is creating space. It's actually expanding like this spaciousness where I knew that I didn't want to engage people online for 3 full days. And so it's like 2 sessions on the first day with a half hour break in between them. And day two's got a lot, but there's like huge chunky breaks, like half-hour break here, hour break here, half-hour break here. Um, and so the Quiet Zone just also offers that if like you want to listen to what Priya Parker or Peter Block is saying as far as presenting in the main room, but you also need to be helping your 5-year-old who had to stay home sick. You can be in this space with your camera off and your mic off. And I think your point of like creating multiple modes for people
Yeah.
to participate. So it's like if I asked a question, instead of having the only way to answer is to like off mute really quick and then share, to actually create the opportunity to share in the chat and 10 seconds for that and off mute if you'd like, or share in a small group after, like just creating multiple varying dynamics. But one of the biggest ones for me is that you offered is like uh, as much information as possible beforehand. Like all sorts of brains and hearts want to know, like want to reduce uncertainty. It's like I don't want to show up to I don't want to click a Zoom link and wonder, am I going to be on camera or am I not going to be on camera? Is it a webinar or is it a meeting? Is there going to be 3 people or 400 people? These are all things that like create, I am assuming, more anxiety for some. Uh, Whereas if they know, like, hey, there's going to be 2,000 people there, but you're not going to see any of them, they're going to be on a webinar. Great. I'm in my pajamas, AirPods in, laying on the bed, and all good, right?
Exactly right. Yeah, and that is definitely one of the things that I see lots of events don't do, especially going to an in person event. It's a 3 hour block, and there's a panel running for an hour. I'm like, what am I doing for the rest of the 2 hours? Is
Yeah.
there going to be food provided? Do I need to manage my energy and bring food? Is there networking? I don't want to do networking today. I'm not. That's not my vibe today. I just want to go
Yeah.
in and the panel. When is the panel? Just like details like that are so useful, especially for events where we're inviting in people, where we are making an invitation for them to step into our worlds for those 3 hours. What are
Mm.
we going to do with them? And if I'm running a workshop, for instance, I might even share some of the reflection questions up front. So as we're going through this content, these are 3 questions I will give you to think about, but these are them up front, so you can think about them before you even come to the workshop, if you are so inclined.
I am the worst at that one because for me, right? I totally don't need that. In fact, I actually when I'm like recording a podcast or anything else or doing a Q&A with in front of 1,000 people, I never want to know any questions in advance because I like fast guttural response and I'll pause and think and whatnot. But that's totally a bias that I have toward speedy improvisation. not a bias that everybody has. And so, yeah, you really, well, lots of people in my life serve as like, pump the brakes, Chad. You're moving very quickly. Yeah, like dial it back. So let me just as a really practical thing, I'm gonna actually turn off my video and screen share really quick. If this is gonna technically work, we'll see. I'm gonna screen share Zoom, and you gave two really lovely suggestions. You already mentioned one, which is actually I can have my video on to do this. Right now, I can click over to view, and my favorite feature by far on Zoom, hide self view.
Yes.
Ah, okay. So now it's like you're just not meant to be in meetings looking at yourself being in meetings. So that's one.
Mhm.
In a large Zoom, most people do not know this, is the chat icon. You can come over here and turn on or off chat preview. So you got 1,000 people writing chaos into the chat. I'll often
Mm,
invite people, if you want to participate in that chaos because you got fast fingers and a fast brain, go for it. If you don't, hide the chat. So like make this disappear
mm,
and hide chat previews, and that's it. You just like don't see that anymore.
mm.
And what a lovely, and now I've hidden self view, which for recording, not useful. So, right, these are like just two things that just expand the scope of who's included. And so, can we wrap this video by you sharing your guiding question of like when, as just a mindset of inclusion, what question are you kind of just constantly asking as you're deciding what goes where in an agenda?
For me, that question always is, who is this serving? If I ever have to make a decision, it is, who is this serving? Am I doing this because it helps me as a facilitator? It helps me as a trainer, or is it serving the people in the room? Um, and that's my guiding question.
Bam. And if you want to not design your events super foolishly and exclude lots of people and the perspectives that otherwise would add value to your group and need the value from your group, you should probably find Shaheen's information in the description. I'm Chad Littlefield. Have an awesome day.